Welcome to Sacred Space Practices. I'm Pamela Hunter, and I'm so honored to be here with you today. Our focus for today's practice is focus, finding freedom in the focus, if you will. I have Magnify Your Purpose diffusing in the diffuser. That's a blend of sandalwood, sage, coriander, patchouli, nutmeg, bergamot, cinnamon bark, ginger, ylang ylang, and a little geranium. And what that does for us is helps us activate creativity, motivation, and focus, which I think is really important in these times that we're starting to reopen our world gradually. So a good rule of thumb for Magnify Your Purpose is to diffuse it 30 minutes 3 times a day. That will fill up your reflexes, your receptors, and allow it to come into your body to serve you with that creativity and focus. We're also going to take peace and calming. I like to use cotton pads, cotton rounds, or if you have a tissue, grab a tissue, whatever you have, or you can apply it, whatever works for you. I'm going to put a couple drops on that cotton pad. I'm going to take it in. And as I take this in, I'm going from maybe a confusion state to a focus state. An indecisive state to a focused state. Giving me this centered feeling, this focused feeling, and the clarity that we're going to work through this practice together. So as you put your peace and calming, we're going to put it right on our chest right now. I'm sitting on my knees with a block underneath me, but feel free to sit on the edge of a chair, sit crisscross in Sukhasana, however is comfortable for you for a moment. And as you sit and you're looking at the screen, focus on a part that you're looking on, or if you want to look away from the screen, what are you seeing? What are you gazing at is what we say in yoga. We use the word dristi, the gaze. But a lot of people think of it as staring, yet the difference is staring, you get really intense. Gazing is a softness to it. So as you look at one point ahead of you, notice the softness behind your eyes, in your eye sockets, and feel. As we practice and move today, we're going to be reminding you of what are you seeing in the gaze? What are you gazing at? Are you able to focus on one point? When we learn to orient our eyes, you can increase your concentration and focus. Have you ever watched people? They might look down or they might look all around, and you miss things when you look all those ways. Look at the horizon and above. Look ahead and look where you're moving forward. So this is a nice practice for right now. Awesome. Here we go. So go ahead and take that peace and calming. Put it at the top of your mat where you can grab it again. Move your props if you're sitting on anything out of the way and come standing. So as we stand in mountain pose, bring your feet together. If it's more comfortable to have them apart, parallel feet right underneath you. Put a little bounce in your knee and then activate from the feet to the ankles to the knees to the hips. You'll hear me say this so many times in practice, from the navel to the heart. And as we're here, hands down to the side, and find your gaze. Inhale the arms up over your head. Bring them back down. Tracy did some of this the other day. Inhale them over your head. Exhale them back down. Inhale them over your head, taking them top all the way up. Shake your head no. Feel your head and neck resting on your shoulders. And then notice where the placement of your ears are. They're right along the sides of your arms. In yoga, we look at shapes. So as we do practices today, you're going to notice that if your head is in alignment and your head is resting, your neck is resting on the shoulders, then your ears are alongside of the arms. Now, depending on where your shoulders are, which we're going to open those up in a moment, depending on where your shoulders are, they may be out here and your ears are back there. Work to get those arms up there, so wiggle. You saw Rodney and Colleen the other day apple picking a couple weeks ago. They started out this whole practice by apple picking. So go ahead and move in these sacred space practices and do a little movement, bend one knee and then the other, and just pick some more of those apples, and then bring your hands palm to palm and notice your ears along your arms. Remember to breathe. And then bring your arms down to the sides. Beautiful. Come on to hands and knees. We're going to place our hands right underneath our shoulders, our knees right underneath our hips. We're going to spread our fingers wide like a starfish. So the rule of thumb in yoga is to try to get your pinky and your thumb in one line, your wrists parallel to the top of your mat. So that may mean that your index finger is pointing straight out towards the front of the mat, or maybe your middle finger. Everyone's a little different there. So with that, we're going to do some movement for our wrists. So take your left hand and bring your wrist back any amount. Can you see it? I'll do it on the white so that you can see that my my fingers are turned towards me and my wrist is out. And then back around. And then the other side, the other right hand, turn your fingers back and let your wrist open up. And then back around. Now come high onto your fingers with your palms up. High onto your fingers, you're getting a lot of bend there to open that piece up. And then back down, palms down, parallel wrists, hands wide, using the ball mounds of the hands. One more time, take them up and feel the ball mounds of your fingers into that mat. Okay? And then back down. One more time, lift them up and then lift them back down. Turn your fingers towards each other and feel the action in the wrist and the action in the arm. Nice. Bring them back to center. Now flip the hand over one at a time. So now your hand is down. The top of your hand is on the mat. The palm is looking at you. Opening that up. Flip that back over. Switch. The other side, breathe. Some of you are thinking, holy moly, my wrist. Yes? These are nice little sacred space practice right there, all by itself. Now have your hands planted right underneath your shoulders, wrists parallel to the front of the mat. And let's cat-cow just a few times to concave the spine and then round the spine. Inhale, concave, looking up, exhale, round. Let's keep our eyes open for this practice. Inhale, look up and out. Notice where you're looking. And exhale, round, down, gazing between the legs. Inhale, looking up and out. Exhaling, gazing between your legs. Nice. And then come back to neutral. I'm going to walk up on my mat a few steps so that I can take the left leg back, tuck the toe under, and lengthen back towards your heel. I think Tracy did this last week. We're going to make sure this hip isn't rising and that our hip is dropping in. More so doing this to open up the ankles right now. We're going to work into downward dog. So we wanted to open the wrists, we're going to open the shoulders, and we're going to open this flexibility in our ankle here. So holding and breathing, gazing down, you've got your peace and calming wafting up into you. I am clear and I am focused. And then release that left side, take the right side back, toes on the earth, flex back through the heel, drop that right hip to parallel your hips, and breathe into opening up that calf and ankle. I hold a lot of tension in my calves. Where do you hold yours? Nice. One more breath. And back to tabletop here. Excellent. So, the other oil I have, just come up onto your knees. If you have this oil, is Envision. This was a last minute decision using my intuition. Envision stimulates that intuition. So I'm going to rub that on what we call the wisdom point, right between the brow, just up a little bit between the brow there, your wisdom point. And I'm going to rub that on. Know if you need a carrier oil there. Envision is one that you may need to skin test. Take a scent, take in that Envision. As we do this next movement, we're going to roll from our wisdom point to our governing meridian point to the crown of the head. So from wisdom to our crown. And we're going to take our hands behind us and clasp our fingers, loose elbows. Notice my elbows are bent. So have your loose elbows come down, touch your forehead to the earth, which is your wisdom point. Have your elbows out to the sides. And as we roll up, lift your arms away and roll back down. Inhale, lift, and exhale back down. Be careful not to put a lot of pressure on your neck. It's just gentle lifting up and lifting back down, and lifting up and lifting back down. One more time, lifting up and lifting back down. Nice. Relax the arms. Let yourself just meld into that little ball. Let yourself just be there for a minute. Maybe not a minute, a second. And then lengthen your arms out. Spread your knees wider. Toes together, knees apart. Get into a nice child's pose by wiggling side to side. Let the wisdom point touch the mat, your forehead to the mat, and lengthen your arms out. Breathe here. Nice. Inhale and exhale. Coming back up to tabletop, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders again. Parallel wrists to the top of the mat. Tuck your toes under and come into your first downward dog. Keep the knees bent and soft. Come into this downward dog as you lengthen through the palm of the hand, back through the shoulder, and extend through the spine. Feel the external rotation in the shoulders, wrapping those shoulders away from the ears so that you can let the neck go no. Shake it no. Keep your eyes open and feel now, where are you gazing as you stabilize your head and your ears between the arms, just like we did when we were standing. And we're bending the knees strong and lifting the seat up. Navel comes in. You may see a little shaking going on with you. Activate through that. Notice where you're looking, where the gaze is, and take your eyes and look towards your hands without moving your head. Look towards your hands. So your gaze will be up with your eyes. Nice. Inhale here. Exhale, come down. Child's pose. Lengthen down, touch down. Come back up to all fours. We're going to build on. Now, if downward dog is too much for you, or if you have glaucoma issues or any contraindications for going upside down, you want to just stay in puppy. So you can be here. This is a variation. You can move your legs back a little further and have them right underneath those hips and elongate forward. You can grab the edges of the mats to extend as much as you can, but remember to externally rotate those shoulders to give space, and then bring the navel in, not to concave and arch the spine, but bring that navel in so that you have a nice lengthening point from L3 to C3. From L3 to C3. This is where we lengthen and we come into lengthening our spine to create an expansive focus within us, okay? So we're here again. So you do puppy if you need to do puppy. If you want to continue with downward dogs, we're going to build onto this downward dog. So we're going to come into tabletop, tuck your toes under, lengthen that seat up, keep your legs bent, extend through the arms, through the shoulders, ears right alongside. Keep your eyes open
And notice that gaze towards your hands. And now lengthen. You may want to wiggle your feet back a little bit more. Whatever works for you, lengthen. Now notice, 20 years of yoga, my heels still are not down. It is a lot of work for me to get those heels down. What is happening to you? So now we're going to move the head, and we're going to move the gaze. Look up at your peace and calming. Look down through your feet. Look up at your peace and calming, and look down at your feet. Let the head hang and shake it no. And then focus. Bring your ears alongside of the arms and focus your gaze towards your hands without lifting your head. And feel that downward dog. Breathe and focus all the embodiment of feeling. Good. Bring your knees down. Tuck your toes down. Let your toes come together. Let your knees be apart and lengthen back down. This time bringing our hands back, our arms back and our hands towards our feet. You may even be able to hold your heels. Be in that little ball and float your head on that wisdom point. Breathe. Nice. Walking back up to tabletop. Take in, I can feel that peace and calming wafting in, telling me that I am in focus. Nice. Tuck your toes under, one more downward dog. Now, I'm going to show you something. If your wrists are tender, you can roll up the front of your mat and have your wrists on the mat and your finger beds off the mat, and you can have that little support. You can also have a support for your ankles by rolling up, actually I'm going to roll it the other way, rolling up the back of your mat here. Let's see if it'll stay. I did this earlier and it did. Let's see. There we go. So now I'm in my tabletop. I'm going to tuck my toes under here and I'm going to lengthen them back. I'm in a tighter downward dog now. It's tighter. Feel that, and then feel yourself walk those back and go deeper and feel that support for the heels. Lengthening. The wrists and the heels supported. Activate the flesh of your legs and be in this dog for a moment, gazing up towards your hands. Nice. And then notice your eyes staying open as you walk your feet to your hands. Walk your feet to your hands. Feel your forward fold. Take one hand behind the hip, the other hand behind the hip, fingertips down, and with a flat back coming up. Turn towards. One hand on the heart, one hand at the navel, and feel. What do you see inside as you gaze outward during your practice? When we close our eyes in our practice, we're going inward. When we open our eyes and we gaze out, we're sharpening the focus. For just a moment here, focus as your hands draw energy inward and your eyes see what is ahead of you. May we be focused as we move to open our world. May we feel free as we envision the future. Notice your gaze as you walk through life this week. Notice where you stare. Take the staring away and shift it to gazing as you gaze inward and soften the eyes. Now for this very last moment of sacred space practice, close your eyes 1/10.
Look at the tip of your nose, resting your eyes. Notice what happens if you take your eyes to that wisdom point as they're closed, stimulating the wisdom point with Envision essential oil on it, opening up your intuition, your freedom, your focus, as your body feels exactly that focus. Taking your eyes back to the tip of the nose, a 10th open, standing in present moment, ready to move forward because change brings growth. I am clear, I am focused. Thank you for joining Sacred Space Practices with me today. Share this video out to everyone from the on the Young Living Global Education page, and let's change lives by moving forward together with focus and freedom. Have a great day, everyone.